All right, who are the Houthis? Now, this is a question that I keep getting over and over again, but it's one that deserves some attention. Most recently, the Houthis have become pretty well known for invading the Saudi city of Abaha. This is something that's been going on since July, in fact. There was an attack just 2 days ago, on August end. As a result of these attacks, Saudi Arabia has had to close down the airport and severely limit the use of the port. But who exactly are the Houthi rebels, and why do they want to attack targets in Saudi Arabia? Well, let me explain. So the Houthi rebels, or the Houthi movement, are a group based in Yemen. They're named after their leader, Hussein Badreddin al-Houthi, was killed back in 2004 while fighting against the Yemeni government. In the aftermath of his death, the movement sort of descended into chaos until his brother, Abdul Malik Houthi, took control and set the group on its current trajectory. The Houthi movement, also known as Ansarullah, which means the supporters of God, rose out of the Zaydi Shia community. The Zaydi are a distinct branch from the 12 Shia Muslims that you see in Iran, Iraq, and elsewhere. And instead of looking up to the 12th Imam, the Zaydis look to the 4th. It's because of this that they're sometimes considered to be more moderate than other Shia Muslims. But nonetheless, the Houthis' identification with the broader Shia Muslim world has made them a target of Sunni extremism, particularly from the likes of al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, which operates in Yemen. But the Houthis aren't just fighting against Sunni extremists. They're also fighting against the Yemeni government itself. The Houthis are essentially a rebel group fighting to overthrow the internationally recognized government of Yemen. At least that's how it started. But now the situation has become far more complex than that. Originally, the Houthis were not anti-government. They actually used to receive support from the Yemeni government when it suited them. For example, in 2004, the Yemeni government under Ali Abdullah Saleh supported the Houthis in their fight against al-Qaeda. This was during the First Battle of Meran. The Houthis' military capabilities weren't very strong at this point, so they welcomed the support. However, relations between the two would quickly deteriorate. In 2009, the Houthis revolted against the government, leading to another conflict. It was only after the Arab Spring uprisings in 2011 that the Houthis really came onto the scene. With the help of disgruntled army defectors, the Houthis were able to seize large amounts of weaponry, and it was unlong before they had complete control over northern Yemen. The war escalated even further after Yemen's former president, Ali Abdullah Saleh, stepped down and was replaced by Abdrabbu Mansur Hadi. Although it might seem like the Houthis were able to take over northern Yemen because of their superior military strength, that wasn't really the case. Their success was more so due to the unpopularity of the government. As I mentioned earlier, the government was closely tied with the Saudis. Because of that, many Yemenis viewed the government as little more than a puppet regime. This led to widespread public support for the Houthi movement. And with that backing, they were able to seize Sana'a, the capital of Yemen. In September of 2014, that same year, they also forced President Hadi to flee to Riyadh. Now the Houthis even control most of the country. With that being said, we all know that Yemen is basically split into two halves. In the north, we have the Houthi-controlled half, and in the south, we have the internationally recognized government, with the help of a Saudi-led coalition. Since the start of the conflict, the Houthi rebels have grown significantly in strength. They've developed a standing army and acquired a sizable arsenal of missiles, drones, and other forms of military hardware. And it's with these weapons that they've been able to carry out attacks against the Saudis. You see, the Saudi coalition has imposed a blockade on Yemen in an attempt to weaken the Houthis. And because of that, ordinary Yemenis have faced severe shortages of food, fuel, and medicine. On top of that, the fighting has destroyed infrastructure and caused millions of people to flee their homes. And in terms of international law, blockades are usually only allowed in very exceptional circumstances, and they can never target civilian infrastructure like hospitals or schools. By targeting civilian infrastructure, the Saudi Arabia-led coalition has been accused of war crimes. And you can bet that the Houthis are making full use of this. Not only does it paint the Saudis in a bad light, but it also makes them more popular among Yemenis. This gives the Houthis an excuse to recruit more fighters and supporters. As the situation continues to deteriorate, the Houthis will likely continue to grow stronger. But why do the Houthis want to attack the Saudis anyway? What's in it for them? Well, there's a few different reasons here. First is oil. Like I explained in my last video, the Houthis are struggling to get enough oil to power their operations. Saudi Arabia is by far the biggest oil producer in the region and controls much of the oil distribution. So if the Houthis want to obtain more oil, they need to get it from the Saudis somehow. Of course, there's the humanitarian crisis as well. If the Houthis can destabilize the Saudis, then perhaps they could force them to lift the blockade and allow much-needed supplies into the country. This would make the Houthis very popular among Yemenis. On top of that, attacking the Saudis is a form of retaliation. The Houthis view the Saudi Arabia-led coalition as an aggressor. By striking back at the coalition, they're simply defending themselves. Finally, there's the Iranian factor. The Houthis aren't just a typical rebel group fighting for independence or autonomy. They're a full-blown proxy of the Iranian regime. Iran sees Yemen as a crucial part of its regional strategy. If the Houthis can overthrow the internationally recognized government and install a puppet regime friendly to Iran, then that would give Iran more influence in the region. That's precisely what happened in Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon. And Iran wants to pull the same stunt in Yemen. I should also mention that the Houthi attacks on Saudi Arabia have played right into the hands of the Saudi leadership. It gave them the perfect excuse to invade Yemen and take out the Houthi threat once and for all. It also served as a distraction from the internal unrest that was happening within Saudi Arabia at the time. Ever since the Arab Spring uprisings, there have been multiple attempts to overthrow the Saudi monarchy. In response, the House of Saud has cracked down hard, not only on the protesters but also on anyone who supports them. According to a report from the European Saudi Observatory, at least 77 people have been executed in Saudi Arabia for merely supporting the protests. I mean, this crackdown isn't even limited to people within the country. Even people outside of Saudi Arabia have been targeted, for example in 2017. The regime murdered the Saudi critic and American citizen Jamal Khashoggi inside the Saudi consulate in Turkey. On top of that, Saudi Arabia has also jailed tens of thousands of peaceful protesters, detained activists without charge, and banned gatherings of more than 5 people. You might say that this is a necessary evil to ensure the security of the country. But in reality, the Saudi regime is terrified of losing power. They will stop at nothing to protect themselves. That's why they use the Houthi threat as an excuse to crack down on the population. To make things worse, it seems like the Saudis are getting more and more desperate each day. We've already discussed how they closed down the airports in Aba and Sadis, but they've also been targeting civilians in Yemen. Just last week, airstrikes carried out by the Saudi coalition killed at least 30 civilians at a school in Yemen's capital. Obviously, such atrocities don't go without consequence. In late June, the Yemeni army launched an attack on Saudi Arabia's Aba International Airport. 2 rockets hit the runway, destroying 2 airplanes. Luckily, no one was killed. But this was still a significant blow to Saudi Arabia. Shortly after the attack, the Houthis claimed responsibility. And as I mentioned earlier, this isn't the only attack the Saudis have faced. On July 1st, the Houthis managed to down a U.S. Reaper drone with a shoulder-fired surface-to-air missile system. It was the first time in history that a Western drone was shot down by a non-state actor. Needless to say, this was a massive blow to American prestige. And although the U.S. and Saudi Arabia haven't come out to admit it, it's believed that the Houthis returned the wreckage to Iran. The Iranian regime has repeatedly threatened to reverse-engineer the technology. And if that happens, it could spell disaster for America's military dominance. It's clear that the Houthis are becoming a bigger and bigger threat each day. And soon, they may even manage to bring down an American drone with a more sophisticated missile. But what does the future hold for them? Well, that depends on the future of the Saudi Arabia-led coalition. If they can hold the coalition together and defeat the Houthis militarily, then Iran won't be able to expand its influence any further. On the other hand, if the coalition falls apart, then Iran will move in and take advantage of the situation. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments. Will the coalition defeat the Houthis, or will Iran take advantage of the situation? Also, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to check out my others. Cover a wide range of topics, so there's bound to be something that interests you. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.